Thank you for being here today. I'm David Thiokol, Director of Business Development with SBS Desert Mountain. The purpose of this demo is to introduce you to some of the powerful features in Microsoft Dynamics NAV or NAV. NAV is extremely flexible in the industries that it supports, but today we're going to concentrate on the distribution functionality inside this extremely comprehensive solution. The presentation is being brought to you by the Phoenix office of SBS Group. We were formerly known as Silverware. SBS Group is a national Microsoft Dynamics partner with offices in every region of the country. Before the actual demo, I wanted to talk just a little bit about Microsoft Dynamics NAV. NAV is a product squarely aimed at mid-sized wholesale distribution and manufacturing companies. It's been very successful in capturing companies coming off of legacy systems or graduating from entry-level projects such as QuickBooks or Peachtree. Although NAV is very powerful out of the box, it's been designed from the top down to support customizations or modifications through the availability of its source code. The change is there when you need it or want it, and it's justified. NAV is the most widely used mid-market ERP system in the world with over 1.4 million licensed users and 88,000 installations worldwide. It's available in 40 different country versions. What this means is substantial adoption by the manufacturing and distribution industries and promises significant research and development funds from Microsoft to ensure its future market share and long-term viability. What it also means is that there's a vibrant community for support and development of add-on or extended functionality to meet specialized needs for certain vertical industries. Our company has a very long history of supporting ERP products and is committed to structured implementations using proven methodologies. Because Microsoft products are more than likely already adopted in your company, we can leverage that adoption to make NAV complement the products and technologies already in use in your company. As you can see with this puzzle slide, NAV provides complete functionality for companies involved in distribution, manufacturing, and the delivery of professional services. If a piece of your puzzle is not satisfied by NAV out of the box, more than likely there is an add-on available from an active community of Microsoft partners developing extended functionality for NAV. The real power in NAV is its flexibility and adaptability. It can always be configured or customized to support unique business processes or functional requirements. Today we are going to show some of the functionality that should apply to everyone watching. For the demonstration, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah Silver, General Manager of SBS Desert Mountain, who will show you how NAV can help your company outperform your competition. Sarah, if you wouldn't mind showing us that Microsoft Dynamics NAV for distribution.
Okay, before we get too far into NAV or NAV, I would like to first introduce you to the NAV Role Center, which is the heart of Dynamics NAV. A role center can be created for a specific user or group of users to present on their desktop the tasks in NAV that they use the most. I like to think of a role center as a personalized dashboard or control panel for a user. NAV comes pre-configured with 24 role centers that can be further configured for each user. And actually, the user can configure their role center themselves. Let me first show you how I set a role for a user, and then throughout the webinar, we'll look at how a user can configure their own role. I'm going to click on the User Personalization shortcut, and I see my name in the list. I'm going to open that up. Notice I'm set for the role or profile ID of Order Processor. That is because today I'm going to play the role of Susan, a customer service manager at Kronos USA, which is a company that sells furniture. So I'm going to leave my role as Order Processor, but you can see from this list that there are many other roles available. Later in the demo, I'm going to switch my role to something else so you can see some other role centers. Okay, let's go back to Susan's homepage. Notice on her home page, she has a navigation pane on the left. These are shortcuts to the functions that Susan uses the most. If Susan needs to use a nav feature that is not on her navigation pane, she can search for it in the search box. She can also click on the Departments menu and have access to the full nav menu suite. Of course, NAV's user security setup is going to keep her out of the functions that she has not been granted access to. Susan can also add a function to her navigation pane by going to the Customize Navigation pane window. I'm going to go ahead and add bank accounts onto her navigation pane. I can click the Add button, Financial Management, Cash, Bank Accounts, and hit OK. So now we see Susan has a new shortcut on her home page. With NAV role centers and personalization, you can deliver the right experience to each user without programming or without involving the IT staff. Let me now highlight some other items on Susan's home page. Down here at the bottom, Susan has a chart showing open sales orders per warehouse location. Notice that each Kronos company's locations are named with colors, but typically the names would be the cities of where your warehouse is located. This chart is a quick visual representation of each warehouse's work for the day. The activity queues here in the center are shortcuts to various lists. For example, we can see all sales orders pending release to the warehouse for shipping. Clicking on this button shows me the list of those specific sales orders. A purchasing manager might end up having activity queues to open purchase orders or purchase orders due to be received today, or maybe inventory items that are below their reorder point. I think you can see that in NAV, the role center information is pushed to the user. They do not need to open any business intelligence tools to get to relevant data. NAV instead provides business intelligence on the desktop. Over here on the right, Susan has shortcuts to her favorite items and customers. Susan today wants to follow up with Blue Yonder Airlines about their order status. So she is going to add Blue Yonder to her customer list. I'm going to click on Manage List and get to the first blank line. Notice as I type the B, all customers starting with B popped up in my search list. When I type L, the NAV Type Ahead filter shows me just the BL customer names. I can go ahead and select Blue Yonder. But maybe I want to search on something other than name. I can actually search on any column in this list by moving the filter highlight button. Notice now it's on city. So as I type in CAM, I get my two customers that are in Cambridge. And I can add them to my list too. Susan also likes to have a handy list of top-selling Kronos items so she can always check inventory availability and pricing. Double-clicking on one of these items opens up the item card with more details. Susan from here can look at various information about this item. For example, she over here has a link to a PDF product specification sheet. She can also look at customer-specific pricing by going up to the related information, sales, item prices. Notice that Blue Yonder happens to have a specific price of $400 on this item. But actually, if they buy at least 10, they'll get the price of $350. Susan might not like going up to this menu to get to the item pricing card because she does it all the time and it takes too many steps to go to the menu. So as you can imagine, she can customize her action pane by going to Customize This page, clicking on the Action Pane button, selecting the section she wants her new button in, click Add, and we're going to go and find where it was in the menu. Oh, I hit the wrong one, and choose Prices. So now the Item Prices button is right here, easy for her to get to. Susan sees here that there are 214 of this item on hand and 11 on open sales orders right now. Clicking on the 11 shows us 3 open orders for this product, actually at 3 different warehouses. And we notice here that we had a partial shipment on one of them. showing the remaining 11 is open. If I click the Show Document button, it's going to open the exact sales order for me to look at, maybe notify the customer what's going on from here. Let's now go back to the home page and follow a few more of Susan's tasks. Each morning, Susan must review a list of delayed sales orders. These would be orders with a requested ship date prior to today. She has a queue, which I've highlighted on her homepage, of the delayed orders. From this list of delayed orders, Susan could open any one and determine the appropriate course of action. She notices that there are many orders on here for litware. And as I click on the first one, Susan would see that there's a note that says to ship this with the other sales orders. She's going to double-click on this order, open it up to see what's going on. As Susan highlights the various items on this order, she can look in this Sales Line Details fact box to see the availability of the item. So on the first item, there's plenty on hand, but as we click on the second item, we see that there's 27 when the customer has ordered 30. She can check the inventory availability page by location to see if there's any of this item at another warehouse. She notices that there's plenty at the blue and green warehouse. She could double-click and change it to blue, but she does know the customer wanted this to ship with other orders. So instead, she's going to message Jason, the warehouse manager, to see how quickly he can get this to the yellow warehouse. Click Create a New Note. She can choose who she wants to send the note to of the NAV users and click the Notify button. Now Jason will see this message on his NAV homepage. Now back at the homepage, Susan notices that she has a notification down here in the bottom similar to the one that she sent to Jason. This notification is from Colleen. She can double-click on it and check the order out that Colleen gave a message about. Doesn't look good. The customer is very angry about this order, still wants it shipped. Maybe you can offer a special price, Colleen said. Here we see we have the same problem, 15 on order, but -3 available. We've got more demand than supply. I'm going to click on this -3. And here I can see each week, or I could change this to month or even day, activity for this product. I've got 12 on hand and 480 coming in on purchase order. And it's happening this week. If I click on the 480, there we go, it'll pop up a list of the 2 purchase orders showing me when they're coming in. Also notice that these purchase orders were placed in pallets. NAV allows you to have multiple units of measure for every item. You can stock, purchase, or sell an item in any unit of measure. From here, Susan might choose to notify purchasing to expedite the purchase order. She can also choose the customer's email address and pop him an email to tell him that the order is on the way. Okay. Next, Susan must release orders that are awaiting her approval. She goes to her sales order pending approval queue and sees that there are 3 orders that are on hold. NAV has a robust document approval process for sales, purchasing, and credit. Notice that 2 orders are pending credit approval and 1 order is pending approval limit, a maximum sales or purchase order limit. Anytime they enter an order over that limit, the order will go through an approval limit workflow, as this order has. Susan can click on the document button and take a look at the order, see who it's for. She could then choose to approve or reject the order, or she might choose to delegate it by incineration. Email will be sent to the next person in the approver workflow. Now let's look to Susan can make big changes to data really easily. Susan's been informed by her manager that the yellow warehouse is going to be shut down. She must change the default warehouse for all customers from yellow to the blue warehouse. With NAV, you can easily edit large volumes of data in Excel. Susan's going to go to the customer list and set a filter for all customers whose default warehouse location is yellow. So notice now I set a filter on my list, and I only see the yellow customers. Susan would hit the Edit in Excel button, and now I've got Excel opened, and it's only showing me the yellow warehouse customers. Let's go ahead and find the column with the warehouse. And I'm going to change yellow to blue. Oops, all the way down. Oh, I hit Control B for blue. That wasn't good. Hold on. Blue. Let's take it from the top here. The simplest cut and paste features is where I'm striking out here. We'll just change some of them. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to hit the dynamic. If I come back to my list, refresh it, notice it took away many of the customers. If I changed them all, they'd all be gone. So Nav was writing back from Excel. So let's give that a try. I won't have to cut. Go ahead and go to list. And I'm going to set a filter just to see my items in the furniture category code. Now I'm just showing just the furniture items. I can hit Actions, Edit in Excel. And now let's find the price column. And let's go ahead and change a few of these prices. I'm going to make them really big so that they stand out in our list. Just change those three. I could, of course, do a formula in Excel. I'm going to go ahead and save my changes. And now when I come back and look at my list of furniture items, notice it updated my prices right away for me. While editing in Excel, if Susan had entered an invalid warehouse code, or if another user had edited a price of an item that Susan was also editing, Nav will return a conflict message and prompt Susan to resolve the issue. Okay, Susan's boss has now asked her to identify which types of customers are purchasing the most in each country. Nav has a powerful reporting tool called Analysis by Dimensions. Dimensions in Nav can be used to track attributes on transactions. Common dimensions might be department, customer, region, product type, or salesperson. Kronos USA has identified a dimension on each customer for geographic area and another for industry type. Let's look at the default dimensions on one customer. I'm going to go to SportsMyers and open Related Information Dimensions. And here I see that this customer is in Area 70, which is North America, Business Group Industrial, and Customer Group Small. Dimensions for reporting. Dimensions on a sales transaction might also come from the item. Susan is going to now open the Analysis by Dimension function so she can begin her review. So I'm typing it in the search box since it wasn't on my navigation pane. And I already have an analysis called Customer Group Analysis set up that we're going to work with. Okay. First, Susan's going to look at sales by month for each revenue type. I'm going to show as lines or rows my GL account to show my revenue types. And I'm going to show as columns the period so I can see it by month. I'm going to change down here, view by, to month instead of week. And I'm going to go ahead and put in a date range. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at our matrix that was returned. So here I see for each revenue type, by month, the revenue in that category. From here, I can drill down to the source transaction and actually see the data making up this number. Here's a few transactions. I can further drill and actually get to the source invoice that this was made up, that transaction was made up of, or one of the invoices. Let's close that. Now let's dig a little deeper. Next, Susan's going to look at customer area, again by month. So instead of having the revenue types, we're going to look at all revenue by area. Again, if she wanted to, she could drill down from here. Maybe she's interested in seeing the trend by week instead of by month because there was a special trade show or a special promotion. Let's change our view by to week and reset our date filter and show the matrix again. So now we're looking at each week's activity. All totals and subtotals in NAV are calculated on the fly, so we can break out any total in any way and always drill down to the source document. You don't have to know in advance which combination of reports your manager is going to want to look at. NAV's advanced technology levers the power of SQL Server, so even with millions of transactions, the performance of the NAV system will not be jeopardized. Now let's look at sales by geography for each customer group. I'm going to leave area as my rows, but this time I'm going to change my columns to be the customer group. Reset my date range and view the matrix. So now Susan's able to tell her manager which customer group is purchasing in which area. From any of these analysis views, Susan can drill down and see the actual activity making up the totals. This departments or by different offices. Susan can send this analysis view to Excel to create a pivot table as well. NAV dimensions allow us to activity by an unlimited number of parameters without carrying the data all the way to the GL account level. To do what I just did in a traditional accounting system, I would have had to have a separate revenue account for each type of revenue, for each customer group, for each area within the customer group. Adding a new customer group in a traditional accounting system would have meant adding a GL account for each revenue type and area combination. In NAV, a financial statement can be run, filtered on any combination of dimension values, and still keep your chart of accounts relatively simple. Personally, I like dimensions because it allows detailed analysis without even going to the general ledger. That a sales manager should get lost type data sliced by different customers and product dimensions without having to go through financial reports or the IT department. Okay. Another analysis, visual analysis tool that NAV provides is called the tree map analysis. Let me go ahead and open that. On this page, I can measure both profit and sales. Sales is represented by color, blue being big and red being small. Profit is represented by the size of the box. So a big blue box would mean big sales and big profit, like here at Fabricom. But what I think is interesting is this grayish box down below for Litware. It's almost the same size as the Fabricom box. This customer has almost the same profit dollars, yet much smaller sales numbers. This represents maybe a more profitable customer by percentage, and maybe we need to focus on selling more to them. A user can change what parameters they measure in a tree map view and also filter it down to narrow their results. Okay, now let's change roles to be the small business president so you can get an idea of what another role center looks like. I'm going to go back to the user personalization where we started and open up my role and change to small business president. I do need to exit NAV and reload it to refresh my navigation pane. This role center, as you can see, is full of information that a business owner or general manager would need to see on a regular basis. For example, I can see an activity queue of purchase invoices or payables that are due to be paid today. I can also see a queue of overdue sales invoices that our customers are late on. The chart in the lower right-hand corner shows me bank account balances for each bank account in their respective currencies as well as in dollars. I can also go to the Finance tab from here and look at my bank accounts. Notice as I scroll through each bank account, the fact box on the right shows the balance in that account. If I had multiple currencies going on in this account, I'd see the local currency and my base U.S. dollars. Clicking on this 558 shows me all the activity in that bank account. And from here I could filter on posting date or maybe on a type of transaction. Okay. As small business president, I might be interested in seeing how our customers are distributed around the world. I can go to the customer list and click on the customer map. And this is going to pull a map of all my customers with a pinpoint showing where they're all located. This might help me realign sales territories, or I might consider opening a new warehouse in a densely populated area. Now let's talk about item replenishment in NAV. Let's go back to the swivel chair that we were looking at before. I'm going to open up the item card. Every item in NAV can be sent with a replenishment system of either purchase or production order. This tells NAV typically how you get this item. NAV can be set up so you purchase to one warehouse and transfer items to other warehouses through transfer orders. On this item, I've set the replenishment system as purchase, and I've identified the default vendor as Coolwood Technologies, and this is Coolwood's default part number. That will print on my purchase orders. Of course, any other vendors for this are and those vendors' part numbers, but this is the vendor that's my primary vendor, and my automatic replenishment will default to this vendor. In the planning section of the item card, I can set up reorder points, safety stock, order quantities, minimum maximums, and order multiples. With the requisition worksheet in NAV, NAV is going to automatically generate purchase orders, transfer orders, or production orders based on these replenishment settings. So go ahead and open the requisition worksheet. When I click the Calculate Plan button up here, I can select a date range for my planning and a forecast. The forecast represents future demand and supply that I've entered into the system based on expectations. The requisition worksheet just looked at the existing and forecasted supply and demand by date, looked at existing sales orders, purchase orders, production orders if I'm using manufacturing, and determined what actions must take place. The worksheet recommended creating, editing, or canceling purchase orders and transfer orders based on that calculation. Which are some of these. NAV Advanced Management users can use the production worksheet in a similar fashion to generate production work orders for manufacturing with MRP. Okay. NAV also ships with an ad hoc reporting tool called Jet Reports Express. Jet Reports Express comes with NAV, and it hooks into your Excel. Notice how I have this new menu in my Excel. This is real time. I'm working in a familiar Excel environment but accessing live NAV data. Let's go ahead and create a report that's going to show sales and profit for each customer. I'm going to click the Table Builder button, and I'm going to first add a table to my report, which is going to be the customer table. Choose the customer table. Now let's go ahead and add some columns to my report. I'm going to add the customer number, their name, the business group they're in, which is one of our dimensions we saw earlier, the customer group, country, and salesperson. Okay. Next, I'm going to add some numeric fields, or what we call flow fields in NAV. Let's go ahead and add sales and profit. So there's sales and there's profit. Finally, I'm going to set a filter on my report so I can identify what dates I want this to run by. So let's go ahead and put the date filter in there. And we'll use between and the same date range we looked at earlier. I'm going to click the user define box so the user is prompted when they run this report to refresh the dates if they want to run it for a different time period. I want to add one more filter, and that is I want only sales greater than 0. I don't want to see on this report any customers whose sales are 0. So let's go ahead and now click OK, and I can run the report. Jet went ahead and built all the commands for my report. I could change my date range if I want to, and click Run, and now I have a quick report that shows me sales and profit by customer. With very little training, all users can use Jet Express and create their own ad hoc reports without going to the IT department or without having one reporting wizard at the company. Everyone can take part in this. From here, I could create a pivot table to show sales by area and customer group, similar to what I did earlier with the analysis by dimensions. I can also add graphs to this report using Excel's graphing tools. But to do the pivot, if I want to run again for our date range, so we get the same report. Okay, so here's the same report we were looking at earlier if I go over to the Report tab. But on this one, we've added some graphs. We've got, for example, profits by customer discount, a top customer overview. This report shows us our top 20 or so customers. And then I also have a report with graph of sales by country and salesperson. Again, it was taking that simple report that I created using the wizard and then adding graphs. Another example report that was done with Jet Express can be a financial report. Let's go ahead and open this executive P&L report. A shout out for all the controllers on the call today. We have to show something financial. Here's a Jet report that was created. Again, we have formulas that are pointing into the NAV Live data, and we just have to refresh it every month with current dates, and the report will pull current data. You set up your Jet reports much more to NAV than what I've shown you today, but I think this preview will give you an idea of the broad functionality and the ease of use that this ERP product offers. I've shown you everything from the point of view of a customer service manager and a small business president. As you can see from this menu, there are 9 major functional areas to explore, including manufacturing, advanced warehousing, and job costing. The partner who invited you to this webinar will be able to show you any of these areas in much more detail in a context specific to your business. Before we open up the phones for questions, we'd like to first tell you about a special promotion that Hub mentioned at the beginning. Microsoft is offering a promotion until June 2012. Let me go ahead and flip back to that slide so I can show it to you. Hang on just a minute. There we go. Okay, from now until June 2012, you can purchase 5 NAV users for only $3,000 plus maintenance. This is a system that would typically sell for $20,000 and now is available at an 85% savings. Also, we recommend you check out tax code section 179.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, that concludes today's presentation. We hope that you enjoyed it and that it was time well spent. And we hope that you have an interest in learning more. So to do that, I've put my contact information up on the screen. Feel free to email me or call me directly with your questions. We look forward to answering them. And also invite you to visit SBS Group online at www.sbsgroupusa.com. Thanks again for joining.